How are you?
Well, how are you?
Wonderful.
Eat that. No, you're fine. Can I trust you with this? It just needs to go from person to person, and it is live right now. So just, you want me to keep it?
You're not talking too much. Is this reserved for all the ladies? Oh, sure.
Huh? We shall see. Let's see. Hi.
They're not able to connect yet.
I just started it.
So could they try now?
Huh? Yeah. I'm checking it too while we're here. Yep, it says that we are live right now.
Okay.
And they are hearing you and I talk.
Oh, excellent. She's doing a great job.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no.
What you need, sunshine? Oh, I think she's got the book right there.
Hi, Brian. I'm not.
Live streaming, messaging active
Yes.
response bots.
I just put, hi, friends and neighbors. This is Emily. I'm your host for this evening. I am not a member of the board, nor does the board approve or recognize anything I type in this chat. We will keep it clean. We will keep it. And I did tell, I don't remember if it was Beth or Kathleen, but I did tell them the purposes of the chat are for this live stream, and I actually just typed this. But I do not have the chat turned on where once the meeting is finished and it downloads, that the live chat will be available retrospectively when the video is reviewed. Does that make sense?
Well,
Okay, well,
there's two schools of thought. I understand where you're coming from.
sure.
I encourage you questions.
Sure. I can take the questions and you,
No,
well, yeah, I'm not going to address the adjectives.
anything looks like this is what I want.
Yeah.
What I'd like to see is the questions so that we can download them
Mhm.
and then go back and discuss them, get answers, and send them to the.
Yes, in StreamYard, I can flag the questions such that StreamYard will give me a printout of the whole transcript. But like I said, it will not be the chat itself will not be uploaded to YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Retrospectively. No. Oh my gosh.
For answering the call. I was desperate.
Well, no. And like I said, this is what I do. So I'm happy to do it. So, and we have 50 people already live streaming, and we have people already engaging in the chat. So, yeah.
I'm not here to ask the questions, but to have a question, I think it should at least be.
And I have the lavalier mic. I had planned to pass it to people when they started having questions, but I can certainly say we've had this question come in, and I can voice them if you want me to, or if there's time. If there's not time, then I can just let them know that we will take them offline. Sure. No, I can.
They're here, you want their questions, you want to answer them. Yeah, I wouldn't want real late.
Tell me when we're okay.
Can I go like this?
Love that. Yes. Yes.
We're not blocking the screen at all.
Whoa, my table leg just flapping. Table apps flapping. Well to go.
Yeah. What's up?
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. How many boxes do you have? Oh, what? See, I don't understand this stuff, so you have to just explain it to me.
No, well, like, you pick a box and then once the roll call, then we got to draw the numbers.
Oh, okay. Well, throw me down for 97.
I always like to hatch and relax.
What do you need in here? Do you know how to get in touch with me? Okay. And then I'll take, and this is my birthday.
Oldest daughter, 48 now. We were talking on the phone.
And I have, I don't know if you got change, but I've got cash on me, but I would need to break them.
No, that's
Okay,
fine.
okay.
I don't, do I have, I might have it in my pocket.
It's fine. If
I
you don't,
if not, I definitely have it in the car.
okay.
Oh, bringing it $700.
We're losing a beautiful night to this annual budget work, but here we are. So thank you all for coming. We got some guests with us. Chip Harris is here from Troon.
You have to talk into that little box.
Oh, okay. Hello. Not on, is it? Okay. We have Rick from Hosted America is here. And of course, the board, I think Rhonda is homesick tonight, so we're without a secretary, but we will do our best. So to start off with, we'll ask Ted to get up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty and everlasting God, who presides over all things in heaven and earth, come and preside over these deliberations, so that those that make the decision may be guided by your wisdom. Amen.
Amen. Everybody be seated. So we're going to go over the budget. Chris, which end of that should I be holding up? That end or this end? I've never used one of these.
Right end is what you,
The other end, okay.
like that.
Thank you. I'm definitely not an autophile. We're going to talk to you about the budget for this coming year. At the end, we'll take questions and answers if we have them. If we not, we don't know. We'll get back with you. I think we'll have as many as you'll need, but I hope, they're questions that we can answer. We'll try and do this orderly, quickly, and everybody maintain decorum if they would. When we're done, we'll have questions and answers. I think 2, maybe 2.5 minutes to ask your question. We'll get in line like we did last year. 1 question each. They'll answer your question. Ask anybody you want, or whoever can answer it. If others can't, they'll answer it for you. You go to the end of the line, and if we don't have an answer, we'll take your name down and we'll try and get that back to you. As far as this year was concerned, I don't need to tell you, it was a tough year. Trying to live with all of the problems in the community. I've had one personal goal: hide, stay away from the arguments, see that the projects we were doing got done, and try and live within our means for the year and not have to raise dues this year. Those were the things those were my goals personally for the year. There's a lot of things that have happened financially to us during the year. Kevin will elaborate on those. There were some very tough things that happened. One of them you're going to hear about is one of our biggest dues payers has gone into foreclosure, owing us over $100,000. And guess what? He'll owe us another over 100 in March. So that's unforeseen, things like that. The $37,000 sewage bill at the clubhouse that we had to come up with, unforeseen. And that's just running a community. From what I can see, you better be expecting that, because those kind of things happen. One thing I thought about this week that I was going to mention to you, there's a lot of new folks moving into this. People think, well, that's just more money for you. But guess what? These lots have all been sold and dues being paid on them all this time. So all you really have is a lot of new people for the amenities, for the services that you offer, that you're going to be paying for, that you've already been receiving that money. So you're going to get nothing extra. That's something you have to take into consideration as well. A lot of things didn't happen on time. Fiber didn't get here as quick as we wanted. I don't know all the reasons, but we do have Rick here from Hosted America who can update you on where we stand on that. And each individual member of the board will cover the area that they do best. But I know there's some new folks here. Y'all probably know everybody, but we're going to quickly say, starting with Bob. Bob, let's get your name. Let's go down the board. Your name, where you live, and give us about 15 seconds of your background, everybody.
We've been here 3 years, a little over 3 years.
Yeah, need this as you talk.
Chris Barajas, moved here in 1921.
Oh, the room can't hear you. You need the handheld mic.
Way up here? Oh, okay.
Use both the lavalier and the.
Better? Chris Barajas, lived here since 2021. Just happy to serve all you guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to your questions.
I'm Ted Wample. I am the rookie. I've been here on the board for about almost a week. I'm sorry. And I live on Windward Drive. So we've done here August of 2021. A little bit about my background. I spent my entire 32-year career with Liberty Mutual Insurance Company. And then I wasn't satisfied with that. I did 2.5 years as the city administrator for the city of Wilkes-Barre. And that wasn't enough. And then I did 2.5 years as the executive director of the Visitors Bureau in Luzerne County, for anybody that knows anything about Pennsylvania. So I've done a little work. I'm retired now.
My name is Kevin Heidel, and I'm the treasurer I moved here in June of '22, so I'm here roughly about 2.5 years. I've been treasurer now for 9 months. This is my first budget for this community. My background is I spent 16 years as a town administrator in the state of New Jersey. From there, I went on to work for the state of New Jersey in a division that oversees all the fiscal affairs of all the municipalities, counties, fire districts, and authorities, which total up about 1,035.
Yep, Larry, got to hold both of them, buddy.
Okay. My name is Larry Baston. I do want to tell Ted I appreciate him coming because now I'm not the rookie. I've been here about a year. My background is in IT management, software development. I managed the IT department for a facility for the state of North Carolina. Did that for 20-some years, and now I've retired and came here. Didn't know this is what I would be doing here, but it was needed, and I'm liaison and working with the RFID Project and the fiber. And so that's it.
I'm Don Moore. I moved here in 2017, purchased my home here in 2014, but couldn't move here right away because still had a job. So I'm still working for that same company as IT management, software, and I do the stormwater committee and the roads and streets liaison.
As you can see, I am smiling much more than usual. I'm off the board in 4 months. And it's been a very interesting process. I would like to thank everybody that has participated and volunteered their time over these past years on the board. In just the past year and a half, we had 5 board members come and go, one reason or another. Death, moving, tension, you name it, we've had it. But the board here is doing their very best. I can promise you, I see them at every meeting. And anybody that tells you this is a once-a-month meeting is lying to you. In the past weeks, it's been 2 and 3 days a week. It's practically a full-time job, and you can ask anybody that's on it. But I got great respect for everybody on this board. Some we started on opposite sides of issues, but we work well together and have 0 problems with anybody. We all communicate well, and I've been very happy with any of them. They are all, from their background description, you can tell, have a wide girth of experience. I was a retired full colonel who decided to go on and then become a chiropractor after that. Chris, he was in law for most of your career, weren't you, Chris? When he started coming to the meetings, Chris kept the Robert's Rules of Order in front of him, the book. And we didn't know it that well. We hadn't done this for a living. He apparently knew it pretty good to start with. So he kept the book in front of him, and every meeting we'd stop about 8 times when Chris would say, sorry, but that's not in the Robert's Rules of Order, or you're doing it incorrectly. And we would finally say, well, Chris, how is it supposed to be? And do it. He did it so well that at the last meeting, we said, Chris, guess what? You have just been voted parliamentarian, and you can keep us straight on that stuff on every issue, okay? And at the last meeting, they voted him vice president as well. So I would say everybody's getting along great. Ted, with very interesting resume, a city administrator for many years. He is very experienced in doing this stuff. And his big addition, he's also taken on the job as liaison to the advisory committee, which Ted will update you on that a little bit later in this meeting on how that's going. Everybody knows Kevin. He's the man that's telling us how we're broke or if we have any money or where we're going to get it from. And he has worked tirelessly for months and months to try and make these numbers work. Larry, as he said, has been in IT for how many years? 30-some years with the state of North Carolina. Don has done a ton of IT work as well as real estate and a pilot. Is that right? So they have a wide berth, and most of them are retired. You know what that means? They were successful at what they did. You can't live here if you're living on a miser or a pauper's income, so you had to have a pretty good career or you couldn't do it. Thank you to all of you guys. Yes, Chris? Oh, Debbie is not here. Is she on Zoom or at home, do you think?
Making sure you're referencing.
Okay, and Debbie is our little Bantam rooster, as anybody that knows her. She would rather argue with you than talk with you, but we call her our little pit bull. And she was a huge, pleasant surprise on the board. She has got many, many years in insurance, restaurant management, hotel management. That was her career. She asked for, when she first started on the board, our insurance papers. You wouldn't believe it. I had no clue. I've not seen them for the community before, but the stack, it's like this. We don't know how much of it was redundant, how much of it is not redundant. So she's been going through that stuff to see what's covered, what's not covered, things that I would have never thought of, like, do we get some kind of insurance when the restaurant is out of commission? You know, do we have insurance to cover that when it can't operate for 2 or 3 weeks because the sewage system went out? I had no clue, but she looked into it. Guess what? We didn't. But anyway, I'd also like to thank the volunteers on all of the committees in this community. They are very active. Some of these people work almost full-time in their jobs. I know stormwater, thank you, Lee, they deserve it. These people are working for free. They have a ton of experience in what they do. They don't charge us for it, and it saved us tens of thousands of dollars, literally every year. Free surveys they have done for us, free evaluations from people who are very, very experienced. They donate this time, and it's not just stormwater, it's the dock committee, it's the PCC, the property control, the road gang that clean up Broad Creek Road for us. There's just so many committees. The adjudicatory committee that comes in here and listens to all the people complain about their speeding ticket or whatever they've done wrong. They're your friends and your neighbors. They are not the POA, and none of these committees are the POA. Many of them are autonomous. We do have a liaison to help them if we can, but they don't have big budgets to do it with, and they do their very best, and I think they've done a great job for this community. I want to thank every single one of them, okay? So we will turn the first speaker over. Is going to be, who is first on that agenda? I don't have it in front of me. Oh, Rhonda. She is out sick, is that correct? Is she online, do you think, taking notes?
I think you have to do some of the strategy.
Oh, I'm gonna have to do her stuff for her? Okay. Okay, oh, yes, I don't want to forget them, for sure. Sorry, Jennifer, I almost forgot you. I would not do the job that these ladies do in that POA office for $1 million a year. I've seen the people come in and berate them for following the rules, just doing what they're paid to do. They keep a very pleasant demeanor about them all the time, very responsive. If you ask them questions, you could not have a better group of ladies over there. And the staff, like Will over there, I told Will a minute ago, I said, you're the only person working in this entire community that I've never heard a bad word about from anybody.
We need more candies and candy.
I think, I've lived here for on and off 35 years. I think the community looks beautiful. It keeps the entrances up. You know, when we picked up that extra 385 acres, people determined they wanted it kept nice looking. It costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of labor to mow all that lawn, keep the ditches clean, and they have, you know, limited staff. It's the same folks that are working on the golf course, on the entrances. They're mowing all that grass. I don't even know how they do it, but I think they do a great job. Thank you again, Will. Wish we could pay you more. Don't leave if you get a better offer, okay? And oh, and the names here, let me mention them to you. Jennifer is our community manager. Stand up, turn around, face your acquisition there right there. Kathleen, stand up, Kathleen Booch. And did I pronounce your last name right? Beach, Booch? Okay. Cindy Barker, where's Cindy?
Not here.
She's not here. And her husband, JJ, is helping to run the advisory committee, if I understand that right, okay? Beth is at the front gate over there. A wonderful first impression when you come into our offices. She's always smiling. You don't ever upset her. She has a great demeanor about her, and it's just a huge addition to that front office. Will, I just introduced. Now, from golf, club manager is Brian Joyner. Was Brian here? Everybody plays golf, knows Brian. And is the superintendent, Chris Dutton, here as well? Chris is not. The head professionals, Jimmy Adams. So if your score is not really what you were hoping for, I can give you a name to blame. It's not me, okay? And the food and beverage manager is Ben Waddell. Oh, he's working tonight. That's a good thing, okay? All right, let's go to the next one. We were hoping Rhonda would be here to keep us moving on this thing straight, but, you know, without a woman, I'm lost. Okay, we're going to talk about some of the things that have been done this year. If you've not seen it, the Birdland Marina has been rebuilt. Most of y'all have seen that. A beautiful job on redoing that, and I'm a voter, and I think it's very well done. The amenity purchase loan was paid off. That was to purchase the 385 acres. That had to be paid off before they could acquire the loan in order to build the clubhouse, okay? They successfully closed on the Harbor Club, the contractor, as well as the bank, and began construction of the Harbor Club. And you'd have to be blind not to see it if you go down Pelican. It's about 2/3 framed. We have introduced online voting this year, and I can tell you this, it really increased the number of people who participated. I would say 40% more people, something in that neighborhood, largest amount that have ever voted. Okay, collection of dues is really high, 99%. It's pretty darn good when you think that some people have not paid us on as much as $100,000 for one customer alone. And golf revenue was increased. It did not meet the budget for it, but it did grow against last year, so it's trending positively. Okay. And this is for the board of directors, the overall strategy of the community. And we are going to improve communications with the residents. We did, the very first thing that I did when I got, I think they said elected president. I'm not sure how that even happened. I was at the meeting and they said, you're it. So, but the first thing we did was open all these meetings. And I felt like the public wanted it. There was no reason not to. We're trying not to have anything that the community wants to know about that they don't know about. The people have asked about contracts. They've come into the office. We give them the contracts. They read it over, take as long as you want on everything. We have started the advisory panel because we wanted to hear from everybody without them yelling at us what were the concerns within this community. We had 42 people that volunteered to be on that committee, which everyone was surprised we got that many. We weren't going to have that large group. We were thinking originally about 6. And then we said, no, we can increase that a little bit, but why don't we just take everybody's name, put it in the pot and rotate it? And if somebody else wants to be on the advisory committee, just contact one of the members or Ted or JJ Wolf and put your name in the pot and it'll come up too. They pick who they want to be on it for the next group. And how are they rotating them now, Ted? How's the rotation going to work?
1 year. The terms are going to be 1 year and 2 year terms where half the board, well, 3 of them will rotate, or 4 of them will rotate out for 1 year and 5 of them will rotate out, but then there'll be 2 year terms going forward. So we wanted to keep it that way, to keep it to give it some continuity. And then they'll go to keep going to the list and add to the list when people are interested.
And y'all have had 2 meetings already?
Yeah, they've already met twice. We elected officers yesterday. And sorry. And the next meeting is going to be on February the 11th, and they will meet twice. Ideas and issues from the community that they can kind of really dig into, and hopefully help to, keep some, good vibes going in the community. So you'll hear a lot from them. They're still getting together, but that's a great group. And I want to thank the board for the people that are on there already. I keep doing that.
Somebody was telling me just this afternoon that they had read that the POA board had decided to have an advisory panel to take the heat off of them. Duh. This does not mean that you cannot come to our meetings at the board. They're open to everybody when you want to come. The advisory committee is there to delve a lot deeper into things than we can do in an hour here with you folks. And we have not directed them on anything other than regulate yourselves, come up with your own decisions and the things that you want to cover. And then when you get a presentation prepared, they could come to us on the board, which we hope they'll come every month, and give us a presentation on what you think needs to be done in this community. And that's the entire purpose of it. There's also a a restaurant advisory committee that's kind of an ad hoc committee that's put itself together to try and come up with ways to get people to come to our restaurant here. At some point, we're going to have to make a decision on this restaurant, what it is, what's the direction of it. Do you want it to be a golf course grill that people come in and have hot dogs and hamburgers and that's it? Or do you really want a restaurant in your community? Because one is a lot less work, a lot less trouble. It will not produce any income for this community. It does have a very high overhead for a small place. If you want a restaurant in the community, my suggestion is once a week, you try and come over there and eat. My wife and I have made that commitment that we are going to go once a week to our restaurant. We are going to take as many people with us as we can because we want it there. I can remember when there was no restaurant in this community, if you wanted a hot dog, the closest place would have been Sarah's. And it's a lot more convenient for all of us to have a little restaurant here in this community. Let's see, what else can I talk to you about that we're working on? They want to enhance profitability. That's a good thing. I don't know exactly how we're going to do it. Sell fiber. We're going to get into that real quick. Rick is here with Hosted America. As you can see, the bulkhead is moving along very well over behind the new clubhouse that's being built. They are redoing that entire seawall all the way around the inner harbor. All in, that's probably going to be $1.5 million by the time it's through. We have a contract for the riverfront to do a certain amount each year until it's through. Right now, they are rebuilding the old docks over there at the Shoreline Marina, the same company that did Birdland. So it'll look very nice when it's through. It'll be very functional. And hopefully we'll get the whole dock, which is 40 some years old and falling in places, redone. Okay. That is been totally neglected for over 40 years. When we purchased the 385 acres, and a lot of this stuff I didn't understand at all. I thought it would be very nice if we controlled our own destiny and had that land. And then when they decided that they would buy it, a lot of fireworks started and a lawsuit was initiated that wound up with the ruling that, well, you can go ahead and buy it if you can get the money, but you're not going to be able to pay for it with dues money. Now, the only money that left is non-dues money. Well, what is that? That's all the profit we make in the restaurant, all the profit we make in the golf course. It's all the profit we make from everything, with the exception that none of them were profitable. So where does that money come from? Also, the marinas that we purchased in that agreement were 47 years old and falling apart, okay? They are all in the process of being redone right now. So I really don't want to hear there's no infrastructure work going on. It's the most going on in this community since I've lived here. And the only reason that they could do the bulkhead, the only reason they could do the marinas and clean up any of this stuff, the $300 a year that is allocated to pay for the clubhouse. The first several years of collecting that money, we didn't have a clubhouse. So they used that money to get the infrastructure redone, knowing that our payment on the clubhouse will not start until after we get the clubhouse built this coming year. Kevin is much more up on all this stuff and he will bring you up to speed on all the things. I just have an overview of it, okay? Okay, can you flip that page? My little fingers don't work like they used to, Larry. Okay. They are going to, also they're putting in the RFID at the construction gate, at the main gate over here, which Larry had a beautiful description to explain the difference between what we have now with the barcode and RFID. Well, why are you spending? Imagine you go to Sam's, and when you go to Sam's and you check out, you give them your card, you go to the little table there, you pull all your stuff out, you put a scanning one on it, right? And you read the barcode on it. And it might take you 10 minutes to check out, to read all those barcodes. And you don't know where the information is going. You just know you've recorded everything that you bought, right? You put it in your cart and you go to the front door. As you're checking out, a lady comes up to you and goes, bing, you're clear. That's RFID. What you were checking in was barcode. The RFID is reading everything in your cart in 1/10 of a second instantly. She can tell you what you didn't include in the cart. You got some stuff here that you didn't pay for over on the barcode because I have your barcode account here. This is telling me what you should have the RFID is telling me what you do have. And that's how they can tell so quickly. So when somebody comes through our gate, and Larry and them will explain this to you more in a few minutes, they're going to know your life story when you go through. So if you do something wrong when you get inside there, or you shouldn't be there, they're going to know who you are, okay? Okay, they're working right now on projects on the cart paths, a lot of stormwater projects going on all the time. Will is constantly working on our common areas and landscaping, okay? And we hope that we can increase this year. I know Kevin has done the financial reporting. It has been changed a lot in the last couple of years, trying to break out the different units of cost and profitability within the community. Before, we only knew we were losing money or we were making money, but we wanted to know what bills were being attributed to the restaurant, which ones were going against the golf course, because those were intermingled to each other. You couldn't tell how you stood. There are many, many GL lines in the general ledger lines now that break up almost all the costs in this community. It's well documented, but there are some items in there that we are still having a little angst about, why we're charged this, why we're paying this, etc. And those items are not going to go away just because we have a budget for this year. They're small enough that it's not going to be a detrimental effect to paying our bills and having a decent budget. But there are questions that have, when we looked at the general ledger lines, that just jumped out at me. And I would say, why are we paying this? For example, bank fees. If you're running $4 or $5 million through a bank, looks to me like they'd bend over backwards to make sure you didn't get charged $4,000 or $5,000 in banking fees that year. That was a line that I looked at and was shocked and said, we need to go talk to these banks. I mean, we're borrowing money from you. We're running our money through your bank. And you're nickel and diming us. That needs to be addressed. There's 8 or 10 little items like that, yet they're in the thousands of dollars. We're not tired of looking at them yet. We will continue to keep looking at these items as the year goes on. I see Chip and Jennifer going over there going, Jesus, I don't want to talk about those things, but we're going to have, it's coming. We're going to have to talk about all of those issues. But anyway, we do have a very thorough budget. Kevin has put in countless hours making our budget this year as readable as possible for the average guy. Okay, let's, who's up next here? I think I've covered most everything. I can't see it from here.
Get your glasses.
I don't have them with me. What's it?
RFID.
Well, I just talked about that.
Yeah, I'm supposed to do it.
Okay, well, that's what we want to do. So I'm saying, who's next? I think that's you. This is Larry Baisden. There you go.
Thank you, Liz. What I'm going to tell you about is going to be a real high-level view of RFID. It is not going to be real detailed, and I will tell you that my phone number is posted on the website. And if you need more details and want to get into the weeds with it, please call me. We can do this. I would be glad to answer any question that I can answer about RFID. So first thing in RFID, what is it? It's radio frequency identification, as opposed to what we have had, which was optical scanning barcodes. And you'll notice a difference in the readers. And what an RFID project will consist of is our readers. We're changing the readers. We're going to have, as you can see up on the picture, if I hope you can see it, we're going to have a long range reader, which in the top picture will be that little square box that's on the post. That reads the sticker that will be on your car from about 25 to 30 feet. It'll be aimed so that when you come through, it's going to open the gate for you. And you're going to say, well, the barcode was doing that. But what's going to be different is the barcode didn't know you from anybody else with a barcode. The RFID knows exactly who you are and the time that you came. It's going to be recorded a lot more valuable to us. The lower picture shows the left-hand post with what we call a short-range reader, and it will be able to read a card. So you'll be able to have, if you want, a card like this. Will be almost like a credit card. It looks just like a credit card. It's got our logo on it, and that will give you access to the community. All homeowners this will be available to them. All property owners, the sticker will be available to you. Now, if you choose not to use either one of those, we also will be able to issue an application that goes on your phone, and your phone will be able to open the gate. So we just wanted to let you know what it is. Now, why are we doing it? It's going to give us better information. It's going to let us know who is coming, when they're coming, who should be here. We want to make it as easy as possible for all residents, all property owners to be able to access this community without problem. We don't want to stop anybody from getting in here. What we do want to be able to do is control the people that should not be coming in here. That's why we have a guard at the gate. Now, I said we have stickers, we have cards, and we have phone app. That's 3 methods. There's always the 4th method. If you come up here and you don't have one of the automated ways to get into our community, the fail through is you'll be able to talk to a guard and they'll let you in. Now, there will be certain requirements. You'll have to vet it. The guard will ask you a question. They may ask you what your name is. They'll probably ask you what your destination is, but you'll still be able to get into the community. Okay, and we are trying to cover now all the bases for all the different categories of users. The part with the property owners is a real easy piece. The part with all the other categories is a little more complicated, but we're working on it and we'll have that ready. Now, the when, the other part about the why is a pathway for future. Not only is it going to give us access control on the gate, in the future, we will have access control on doors. So right now, if you had a door, if you wanted to check out this building to have an event, you have to go get a key. And then you have to use the key to get in, and somebody has to return the key. In the future, RFID is going to allow us to do that, and you'll be able to use your card to come up to the door to open the door. You'll be able to use your phone app to come up to the door and open the door. After your time has passed, if you had it where you could check out the room for today, tomorrow your card is not going to open that door. The permission only lasts for how long it's supposed to. I'm getting one more quick thing. The when. The official rollout is planned to be for March 1st. We will start putting stickers on the cars in February, and we're going to have time set up out here in the parking lot that you will be able to come out and get your sticker. So that's about enough that I need to say about that. Oh, well, Jennifer wants me to let you know. I just found this out. If you've got Apple and you end up with a smartwatch, an Apple Watch, you can use the app that'll be on your watch, and that will also get you in. So there's just multiple different ways this thing can be used. But we will be rolling it out on March 1st, and we will be transitioning. All the old system will continue to work until the end of March. When we transition to the new system alone, the new system in total, the keypads will go away. But by that time, all the property owners should have all the access they need and any question. Like I say, any question that you have, if you want to discuss it further or find out any more details about it, please contact me. My phone number is listed on the website. I'd be happy to talk to you. And now I'd like to turn it over to Don Moore.
There you go, one little comment.
What's the cost of the cards?
Okay. The stickers that will go on your vehicle will be available, and they are $10 a piece. The cards are $5 a piece. The phone app is free. So you can actually have access to the community for no cost whatsoever and get all the access that anybody else will have. The only advantage of a sticker is quicker. You're going to go through what we call the fast pass lane or the fast access lane. It used to be called the resident lane, but because the stickers will be available to contractors and other people as well, then we just call it the fast lane now. But and I say it's gonna be good. I think everybody's gonna love it when it gets put in place. It's been a long road to try to get it all figured out, but we're getting there. And right now, I'd like to introduce Don Moore, another director.
Actually, I'll let introduce Rick Alderman, or Rick Alder. So come up, speak, tell us a little bit, Host America. Just hold these together because this is for the.
My OCD. Good evening. Don, Larry, thank you.
Later.
No.
Thank
Nice to be here tonight. I'm here to talk about the Host America's. I'd like to, first of all, thank our trial customers for helping us with the sausage making and viewing how we roll out new services in a new community. If I could direct your attention to the back, Sean Watts, if everybody could say hi to Sean back there. Sean is our community ambassador, just joined us last month. She actually lives here in Fairfield Harbor, and so she's back there to give out some tchotchkes, take any questions you have, even take some orders if you'd like to. She has contact information, our phone numbers, emails that you can call to talk to us, order service, that sort of stuff. Up here on the screen is a phase map. We have the community divided into 8 phases. Phases 1 and 2 are pretty much complete as far as the fiber goes. 4, 5, and 6 as well. We are about halfway done in phase 3. We are pulling fiber in phase 7 now. Phase 8, it will be the last phase that we get to. And that's where we're at. We are having to do, we had to do a little redesign for our video upgrades. We are, so phase 1, for those of you that have ordered video upgrades from us, that's things over and above the package. We'll start with those installations in February. We have about 125 orders so far. We have installed about 35 people. The snow last week and the rain earlier this week sort of pushed our schedule back a little bit, so we've been calling some folks and having to delay some installs. If you've been on the list, some of you early birds signed up like 5-6 months ago. Again, talk to Sean. She's sort of handling the scheduling for us, and she can get you on the list and or give you an estimate as to when we'd be able to install you. We put together a 72-channel lineup for the POA that Larry controls for us or controls for the community. If you have any complaints about the channel lineup, go see Larry. We'll change this anytime you guys want. It's your lineup. We were able to enhance. We started with 72 what are called standard definition channels. We ended up with Larry, Mr. Sports Nut, was complaining that some of the sports channels weren't looking as crisp as they should. So we upgraded YouTube. We added 16 high definition channels, mainly. 32. No, it's 16. Well, no, you're right. It is 32. And then eight local channels. So we do have a lot of folks calling us right now. Again, if you have any bills, if you want to compare our pricing, especially on the upgrade side, to what you have with Optimum or Brightspeed, whoever you have, give Sean a call. Let us look at your bill. The last several we looked at, they have Optimum has a lot of one-year promos where their bills are increasing like $80 to $90 a month. So comparable to what we're offering. So happy to look at those for you. Our prices, even though we are maxed out at 4% a year, I've been here at Host America 8 years. We haven't increased our prices yet. And of course, now that I've said that, we'll probably increase them next year on you guys. But any event, we have a try before you buy program going on right now. So if you buy right now, you get a free month service. If you refer a neighbor, you get for every neighbor you refer, we give you another free month. Our installation process, just want to mention that a little bit. We have a 2-day installation process. So we come out the first day and we do your outside. So we bury a drop from our fiber that's on the road to your house. We work with you to avoid your sprinkler systems, any kind of dog runs or pet areas or fencing or trees or shrubs or pools, whatever you want. We're going to run it where you want and to try and avoid things. We come back the next day or a couple days later and we'll do the inside install. Typically, we punch through one wall and we put our unit on the inside. That's a standard installation. A custom installation is where if you want us to put it anywhere else in your house, typically we charge extra for that, but right now we're doing that for free. Okay, with that, otherwise, just our bulk package that we have in partnership with the community is voice, data, internet. So you get a VoIP telephone line. If you have an existing phone number, we can port that over for you so that it will work with this service. We offer 300 meg up and down internet. And then we have the 72 video channels that I mentioned. We offer upgrades to 500 meg and a gig on the data side, And then we offer the dish product line, so you can go up to the AT 250. You can look at those online, get up to almost 300 channels type thing. Do static IPs, all sorts of things. So again, Sean and I are happy to chat with you after the meeting.
Stay with us. Okay, don't shock you here. So now we're going to turn this over to Kevin to give us the budget. All right.
Is this a clip on?
You could. Chris can show you how that works.
I'll clip that on. Thank you.
Here's your clicker.
I need you to do the clicker. I got my pointer. I got my pointer. All right. Are we on the right slide?
On the right slide.
Which one do you want?
Okay, good evening, everyone. I want to start off by saying our targeted projects for fiscal year 2025 includes repair areas resulting from stormwater culvert replacements. We've identified and will replace failing pipes in culverts, 7 culverts on the Gondolier Peninsula, and we will also be doing, I believe, 6 culverts around the Harbor Point Golf Course. All right, some of the amenities that we're going to be doing. Again, we have 9 partial pipe replacements under the golf course fairways. We're going to remove and replace cart paths at the Harbor Point golf holes 1, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, and 18. We did that, okay. And then in 2025, we're also going to do an additional 6 holes to be determined. We are replacing Shoreline Marina and Finger Docks. They're out there working right now. We also have to upgrade electrical service at the Shoreline Marina. That's iffy as to whether or not we're upgrading the service or leaving the service that's there. We will replace the dock power pedestals at the Shoreline Marina, and we are replacing 1,000 linear feet in the harbor seawall. All right. As a finance guy, I'm a numbers guy, all right? I eat, sleep, blank, everything, okay? Numbers. I've been doing this for roughly about 40 years, and I wake up at night, and the first thing that's on my mind is numbers, all right? So my fiscal strategy would be to improve profitability at the golf course and the Point Restaurant. We want to promote Hosted America cable internet service to increase our revenue stream, and I'm going to go and show you how that's going to be done. We're going to continue the financial investment in our aging infrastructure and current amenities. I will be showing you what we did, where your dues paid for it, and what it's going to take in the next 5 years in order to accomplish that. We will be doing a reserve study. The last reserve study was done in 2019. So at this point, we're 4 years into that. We're going to jump ahead, and we want to make sure that this reserve study is done before the end of the year, once we hit that 5-year mark. And the other thing I want to show you, and again, like I said, I'm a numbers guy. You know, I'm trying to do my best to have everyone understand, because not everybody knows numbers like I do. But I want to show you what a predictable dues strategy looks like. All right, so let's look at the budget. All right, in looking at the budget last year, all right, we didn't do too good at all. All right, our revenue numbers are down and stuff, so I'm going to go over that. But what we did in this budget is I reduced the revenue targets by $287,000. We reduced operation expense targets by $7,000, and we reduced our total expense target $63,000. We've allocated $726,000 to reserve for the projects we're doing, and I also allocated $50,000 to the emergency fund. All right, and our 5-year forecast, okay, in the budget actually reflects an annual 3% increase, which is close to what you would do in order to account for inflation. All right, so as I go through the budget here, all right, what we'll notice is that last year we were collecting $3,873,915. going through that calculation and looking at the number of properties that we're collecting dues from, which is 2,762. All right, the number of collection dues actually dropped $21,000 to $3,852,990. All right, when you take a look at our total revenue, over here you'll see it was $5,960,000. I'm down on here to $5,672,000, which is roughly about 250 or 278,000. Our gross income, because of course of it, about 235,000 or something like that. Now pointing to our non-revenue items. Last year, what you'll see is what we budgeted was 403,000. We've received through October 215,000. Forecasting that out comes out to about 398,000. All right, however, we're not going to meet those targets. Again, I took the non-dues and lowered that to 367,000. One thing I do when I do a budget, I am not going to budget for things where they're higher up. I'm more conservative, so I'll bring those numbers down. So if we do exceed our revenue targets, that's a plus for us. All right, instead of trying to figure out that if we over target, we don't reach them, that does not do us any good, and it does not give us a fiscal strategy that we could work with. On the operating side, all right, on the total operating expense, again, 682,000 to 675,000, but there's a couple of things I want to point out. All right, if you take a look at the total labor line, last year we budgeted 1,604,000. This year we budgeted 1,636,000. All right, we're forecasted at 1.474, and the reason for that, and the reason for the increase, is that in last year's budget we had an allocation to hire an assistant for Will in maintenance. Will, his crew are very short-staffed. All right, so we kept that position into the budget, but we also added in for half a year, we want to hire an equipment operator. If we hire an equipment operator, it gives Will more ability to do more projects instead of taking those projects out of our community and bringing them in-house where they can do it, where overall that in the long run, that would be cheaper for us. All right, and the other thing I want to point out, as I said, we had a bad year, and we recognized it right off the bat. All right, our revenue targets are probably down about $400,000. All right, what we did, we recognized this sometime in August and September. We more or less put a freeze on spending where we could, and I have to congratulate Will because Will did a great job. If you take a look at his budget, all right, we budgeted $471,000. All right. Through October, it's 199,000. Basically, we're looking at the end of December, he's down 43% in spending, all right, which amounts to $172,000. That helps offset the revenue that we did not receive. All right. Next slide. As I said, we budgeted $726,000 for our repairs and maintenance. One thing we have here is that we didn't do a lot of projects in 24. We carried them over. As an example, the seawall. All right, the seawall, all right, that we're doing 500 feet is costing $229,000. So instead of having that done earlier in the year, what we did is let's bring it carried over, all right, and do it with another 500 feet. This way we're not paying additional mobilization costs. All right, so we're looking to save money everywhere we can. All right, but again, there's a whole list that if you have the budget, you can see where your money is going to be going. All right, capital expenditures, we put in 477,000 into capital expenditures, and as I mentioned earlier, we added $50,000 to our emergency fund. That brings our emergency fund up to $109,000. All right, the proposal for your dues increase, as Les mentioned, is 0. All right, now what I want to show you, okay, is where your dues has gone. And I'm going to focus on the what?
That's the home, that's the folks at home trying to hear. Oh, you got it on?
No, I got it on. I'm good. I'm good. Come on, Les. Come on, Les.
Trying to make sure everybody heard.
All right, what I want to show you, because everyone has always been asking, you see all over Facebook, where's our money going? All right, so I'm going to actually show you where the money has gone. All right. The dues that we collected from 2018 through 2024. If you notice, we had 3 years without a dues increase. All right, and we're now into our 4th year at 8 years where there has not been a dues increase. All right, that is not something that is, in my mind, as a financial professional, it just doesn't work. It causes financial instability. All right, so what happens is, you know, if you have a predictable dues strategy, you're not going up and down like this, and you'd be able to prepare your budget if you know exactly, you know, what expense is going to be coming in and when. All right, so what we did here is I'm taking these 3 years here. All right, we collected a total, okay, of, when I back this out, we collected a total of $2 million. So where did that $2 million go? All right, here you'll see in 2022, all right, we collected roughly $275,000 out of that. So we collect $275,000 each year. So that dues increase in 2022 generated $826,000. When you go to 2023, same thing. All right, we came in and it produced $551,000. In 24, where we went up $222, it generated $611,000, which brought us to a total of close to $2 million. So where did that money get spent at? Birdland Marina, it cost us $171,000. Shoreline Marina, $160,000. The Finger Docks, close to $40,000. So when you add up the Birdland Marina, Shoreline, and Finger Docks, the total came to $370,000. Now we get to the seawall. The first section of the seawall, $207,000. The second section, $230,000. The third section, all right, is again $230,000. When you add, this is our down payment, and this is what we're paying, all right, in order to complete the job from the 2025 dues. All right, road paving, we put in cart pass, we spent $200,000. Road paving, $771,000. And this is just in between 2022 and 2024 and 25 that we're going into. All right, stormwater projects, okay, and culverts, $213,000. Total amount from your dues, all right, from those 3 years and coming into this 4th year, 2025, all right, we're spending on our infrastructure $2.4 million. That's where your dues has gone. All right. Now, when I come in and I say, let's have a predictable dues strategy. Like I said, when you go up and down, it destabilizes your financial position. All right. So how do you get to a stabilized financial position and be able to predict down in the future? All right. So I put this chart together. All right. And I turn around and says, if they raise dues $70 a year, each year, all right, from 2018 to 2024, we would have collected $4 million. All right? And the kicker, your 2024 dues would have been the same, $1,395. You would have generated another $800,000 to be able to put towards your infrastructure. That cost would have been less than $300 to the owner over the course of over 7 years. Next chart. All right, what if they did that $70 every year? Not only would you have collected that $800,000, all right, but here we are in 2025, $1,395, which we're not collecting. All right, what would be charged in order to complete the rest of the projects that need to get done, which I'll show you, is that you would generate $51, okay, a year in dues increases, which is roughly 3%. That stabilizes everything if you had a financial, predictable dues strategy. All right, what funds are we required, okay, going over the next 5 years? All right, over the next 5 years, I think it's 4.6, but whatever. If we had, I'm getting confused, just hold on a second. All right, so if what happened here, all right, this is what it's gonna cost because we didn't have that due strategy. In order to complete the projects over the next 5 years, all right, you would have to collect $71 a year in dues, which is a 5% increase. All right, in order to be able to collect the $4.6 million left in infrastructure that we have to complete as a result of our amenity purchase and our deteriorating infrastructure. Next slide. All right, so what projects are they over the next 5 years? We have 2,200 feet of seawall at a cost of over $1.2 million. We have the cart paths, okay, at the Harbor Point Golf Club, which is going to cost $400,000. We have the shoreline cart paths, which is going to cost us $350,000. We're going to have roughly about $2.2 million, $2.3 million in road paving projects. And stormwater, we have probably projects, it's going to be about $362,000, which is going to add up to the $4.6 million, okay, that reflects the $71 increase for the next 5 years, okay, which is a 5% increase. All right, now I want to tell you, how do we mitigate some of this? All right, because I'm sure everyone doesn't want a $71 increase over the next 5 years. All right, so we bring in Hosted America. All right, with Hosted America, there's absolutely no cost to the POA for running cable lines throughout the community. We're going to receive an easement fee payable to the POA at $20 per month or $240 a year from every property owner that signs up in Hosted America. All right, so if you work out the numbers, if we have 500 subscriptions or 25% of the community, we're going to generate $120,000. If we're fortunate enough to set up 1,000 subscriptions or 50% of the community, we're going to generate $240,000. If we get 1,250 or 67% of the community, we're going to get $300,000. Imagine what that does to your dues going forward if we had that money coming in because our residents chose Hosted America over Comcast. And I'll tell you, in the last 3 months, my Comcast bill went from $243 to $294. If you tried to call them, all right, and argue with them, well, I'll give you a $15 credit for 1 month. You know where I'm going? I'm going to Hosted America. And even if I had to pay the same, I'd rather see $240 go to our community than to go to Optimum. Next slide. All right. So if I bring in Hosted America, All right, and look at the revenue. I'm going to show you what it's actually going to do to your dues. Remember, right now, without Hosted America, all right, we're at $71 every year for the next 5 years in order to complete the infrastructure projects that are required to be done. All right, so here you have Hosted America. All right, what would happen is that if we generated $120,000, which I don't have anything here yet, okay, for 2025, but going out to 2026, if we generate 120,000, if we get 50% across the board, in 5 years, we're going to generate over $1 million. That's going to take your dues from $71 down to $45. Next slide. All right. Now, remember when I told you that if we had a dues strategy from 2018 to current, and we collected that $800,000, what would have happened is this, is that your dues would have been reduced going forward, $25 a year or 2%. All right. And you're still collecting 4.6 million. Unfortunately, we don't have the 813,000, all right? But that's what would have happened, okay, if we had implemented a dues strategy over the past 8 years. Before we get to any questions, all right, there's a couple of other things that I want to talk about. All right, as I said, our revenue is down about $400,000, $100,000 because they're not paying dues. Over the past year, the Point Restaurant revenue is down 24%, or $140,000 less than the previous year. Okay, why is that? All right, number one, we had staff turnover, and we're trying to find the right balance. Secondly, community division. That clearly had an impact on our restaurant because people are now not going. All right. The next thing is that we had a destabilized board, all right, because of the elections that we had to remove people, and we had good people like Gail Albertini and Tina McLam and Julie Finlinson, who resigned because of all the things that we're receiving from the community, the outrage. So we had a destabilized board, all right? So we lacked continuity to really get anything done, all right? And as Les had mentioned, all right, we have 2 board members now working with the restaurant and an advisory panel to try to see how we rectify and get us on a positive footing, all right, and get our customers back so we can generate the revenue that revenue helps to lower your dues, all right? All right, and again, as I mentioned, all right, in September, we recognized what was going on, and our maintenance budget is down 24%. We can't let that happen again in 25, so we're going to have to spend the money or the investment dollars that we put in previously to take care of our golf course and the rest of our greens areas. It's going to be lost. You're just going to revert back, and you're going to lose that investment if you don't continue to make the investment and keep up with the properties. All right. When I go over what the numbers are going to look like at the end of this year, I'm looking that we're going to be anywhere between 80 to 90,000 in the red. So we're not going to have a positive number, and I explained all the reasons why. All right. There's just a few other things, okay, that I want to address. And I want to address these Facebook posts. First thing I want to address is there was a posting put out there, all right, by a person who claims to be that negotiates union contracts, all right? And in that post, all right, it said, I've been doing union contracts and I've never ever seen a 5% raise, because that's the contracts we signed with Riverfront Docks, all right, for the next couple of years. Well, let me tell you about contracts. Labor contracts are a lot different than construction contracts. Labor contracts are designed, all right, to lift people up, which is the lower end of the middle class and the middle class union workers, and is designed so they keep pace, either with inflation or to increase their pay so that they move ahead. Construction contracts are way different. Construction contracts is more of a partnership. So we have a partnership with Riverfront Docks. And what we did is we did the long-term contract at 5%. Now, we all experienced inflation over the last 4 years. All right, we had 9% one year. If you compound for the last 4 years, we have 20% inflation altogether. All right, so you work with a partnership, all right, and you put a ceiling into that contract that can't go above 5%. However, you're not held to that 5%. All right, and the reason why you're not held to that 5% is because you're working now with a contractor who's getting over these years like $1.7 million, all right, in order to fix our infrastructure. All right, so you're working with a partnership. All right, that 5% is a ceiling. All right, it's not guaranteed. All right, as an example, on our section that we're doing, the third section, it should have went up $12,000. We got the same price as previous last year. And we will negotiate next year. You know, each year we'll continue to negotiate. All right, so that 5% is just a ceiling that protects us. All right, the vendor, he's not going to sue us because there's no damages. There's no mobilization cost. There's no equipment cost. All right, and there's no cost to put in, such as the seawalls. So that's how you explain the difference between a labor contract and a construction contract. The second thing, you can wait for the questions. All right. The second one I want to address, all right, is a post came out last night, all right, on Facebook. I don't know who saw it. It generated about 40 comments and basically said, all right, budget meeting of something about being on fire. This person, all right, is anonymous. They went through every point, all right, on everything and trashed, okay, this board, okay, as a bunch of crap. All right. I look at this person as nothing but a keyboard coward. All right, and an agitator. All right. I will tell you something. All right. I'm required to put in about 150 hours, okay, into this job every year. That's $10,000. The board members have to put in roughly about $200,000. I have 200 hours. All right. Rhonda, she has to put in hours. If you were to add up all those costs, all right, it's $75,000 worth of volunteer time for these people sitting right here who our community trashes. All right. And I think that is absolutely disgusting. So I'm going to say to you, all right, there's an election coming up. All right. Be careful who you vote for, because I will tell you, on my Facebook page, I put my credentials out there. All right. If you want to go to my bio and you want to read my education and experience, it's there for everybody to see. These Facebook agitators, you look at their profiles, there's absolutely nothing. Who do you want to trust? The agitators, or you want to trust people who work their butt off and put in order to improve this community? So I'm going to leave you with that, because the choices now are yours. All right. You have the opportunity to support our community by going into the restaurant, okay, because it's your community restaurant. All right. You also have an opportunity now to support the community by signing up, or at least investigating Host America, because as I said, all right, when you look through the charts, look with that revenue, which again has no offsetting expense, all right, and how that will affect your dues and provides the opportunity to bring that down. Thank you.
Les, I know we're going to go to question and answer. We're not going to get in the middle of that. But before any conversations or comments happen, I just want to ask the board, since we presented this to the community on Facebook Live and here publicly, I'd like to publish this on Front Steps tomorrow for the community to review, so that if there's questions on the graphs and stuff, it is for you to review. Consensus motion, we need to move with that, or are we good? Okay.
And one thing that I would, ask the community to do is to go onto Facebook and print out those charts. Compare each one of them, all right? And you will see the effects on your dues, all right? And how, if we support our community, all right, through Hosted America and our restaurant, you can actually see where the dues required to handle, all right, the rest of our infrastructure projects. And by the way, we didn't just pay $3 million or so to purchase, all right? We're adding $7 million that's required. So that whole purchase cost $10 million.
Thank you for your time, Kevin. I won't keep you, but just a second before we get started on that, I was going to mention one thing to you. This morning, just because I knew I was going to be talking to you folks tonight, I went online and I said, what is the average lifespan of a male in today's world and a female? A man's average life is 74 and a woman's is 79. You can go to a lot of websites. They all said the same thing because I checked it, okay? The average age in our community is 67 and a half, okay? That means that 10 years from now, most of you and me will not be here, okay? It can happen that quick. And over the past year, 2 years, I would guess, we lost probably 15, 20 friends that lived here in this community that are no longer here with us. Now, 10 years from now, I'm going to promise you two things. You guys are terrible, okay? It can happen to you, but I look at it. I went to the doctor 4.5 years ago. He told me I had stage 3 cancer, and I've been getting the CAT scan every 90 days for 4.5 years, okay? This is the last crap that I want to have to deal with. There's a bunch of people that are hateful, angry, and wrong, okay? I'll tell you another thing that's going to happen in 10 years. In 10 years, that clubhouse will be sitting there, and it will have hosted thousands of events, birthdays, recitals, concerts. You'll finally have a place where there's more people in the audience to watch the Harbor Light players than are on stage. You're going to have all kinds of community concerts, the kind of things that you would all be proud of 10 years from now. So my question is to the community, do you want to spend your last 10 years being angry, hateful, and spiteful, and being someone who spends 15 minutes a day on the computer spewing hate? Or do you want to be some of the people that volunteer to be on all of these committees, countless hours that are spent? And one club I didn't mention committee is the Harbor Club. I see those folks, Bill Dressler, Phil Hewitt, every day at that Harbor Club, checking in the people, making sure the work is getting done. And I, for one, am very proud to have supported it. It will be here. It's half built now. It's going to be here. You can either support it or you can spend the next 10 years spewing hate at everybody about it. And I just feel sorry for you if that's the way you are. I intend to spend mine being nice to everybody in this community. And I appreciate your time. Now, we'll take questions. It's going to be 2 minutes. We're not here to take hate statements. We're here to take actual questions. Take 2.5 minutes with a real question. Anybody on the board, you can address an individual member if you want, or anybody on the board can answer it if they had the answer for it. So make it a decent question with some answers that are worth hearing, okay? And then we'll give you what answer we know. We'll move on to the next question. One question each, and we'll start with the first person. Chris, are you going to work that for me?
Yeah, I'll work the audience.
Okay. First question. Craig Myler. Craig Myler, Tartan Court. Do what Craig did as you come up. Tell us who you are, how long you lived here, where you live. Okay, thank you.
I live at Tartan Court. Been here about 10 years. It's a wonderful place to live.
My first question, and I'm going to have a couple because you had some items that went through. Les, you said that we collected 99% of the dues for this year, and I'm taking that 99% being of what you budgeted for the year. But then you said we didn't get $100,000 of dues from a whatever source. Well, 100,000 against about 3.5 million is about 3%. So it couldn't be 99% if we didn't collect 100,000.
You want to answer that?
I asked Jen, but that actually came my head for everyone who realized that that's a mistake.
Mike, for response, please.
Okay.
Oh, I'd also like to ask if these questions be entered into the minutes of the meeting and the responses that are made here, and that the responses, if they're not made here, that they be updated to the minutes of the meeting for the community. Get some tape.
Actually, the 99.6 was last year's collection of dues. We were at 99.6 at the end of last year. This year, we are right about 97.6. So we're getting very close to 98%. So we're not too far off from that, but we are definitely that $100,000 off.
100,000 is more than 3%.
Well, we may have collected more than what we had budgeted.
Prepaid.
We had prepaid dues, that's right, we have people that prepaid. We also may have collected things from the past that weren't even in the budget to collect.
But when you report it against the budget, you should be using your budget number, and then those should be somewhere else as being additional collections. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Craig.
Who's next?
All right, next question.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Myler, did you have another question? Like I didn't know that one's coming.
I do. This one's a little bit more detailed, and it comes down to, I was looking through the budget, and by the way, you did a nice job on the budget, but there's some things in here that are questions, and that's always normal in the budget, especially when you got a few people looking at it. This one's associated with the labor. The labor costs that you list in the budget for golf, general administrative, maintenance and landscaping, and then food and beverage. I looked at them and I said, those look really low and really high. In other words, the split. And when I compare that to the total payroll taxes, those are not the same percentages. And total labor includes everything, all in, taxes, G&A, et cetera. So when I look at total labor and I say, wait a minute, how did you collect taxes of 50,000 on the golf course, and then you collected taxes of 32 against 702,000 on the maintenance of the community? So there's a difference that I just don't understand. Those should have exactly the same percentages.
You have a mic there for him.
All right. One of the things, and by the way, just so everyone knows, I spent about 3 hours on the phone with Craig Myler over the weekend, talking about the budget. All right. One of the things is that one of the shortfalls we had in 2024 is the payroll burden was not calculated correctly and was severely underfunded. All right, so what I did, and the numbers he's talking about, is I went back and calculated 9% on each one of those categories. All right, so when you take a look at the total amount of payroll tax compared to the total amount of labor, we put in 9%. All right, so you have 6-point-something% for the employer's Social Security, and you also have 1-point-something for Medicare, which really comes out to maybe 8% or 7-point-something. So I actually put a little cushion into that number to ensure that we don't come in on shortage on our payroll burden.
Next question.
Any other questions?
Here comes trouble now.
Or go ahead and ask your question. I'll hold it.
Lee Fawcett, 904 Muirfield Court. A statement, a question, another statement. Les, by your numbers, I've been dead for 4 years, so we're loving it. I'm living on borrowed time.
Okay.
I'm looking at, I tried to extract the numbers for the golf course and the restaurant, And it looks like last year we had, in the current year, we had a gross profit on golf course of roughly 188K, roughly. I may not have picked up everything in your tabulation. But on the same basis, we're going to make about 70K in the coming year versus 188 last year. Looks like you're increasing the maintenance from what I've heard in some board meetings. That needs to be done. My comment is, we've got a restaurant. This goes to your comment. You've got a restaurant that's scheduled to make you $70,000 a year. And over the next 5 years in your capital plan, you're going to spend, a golf course going to make you 70,000. Over the next 5 years, you're going to spend $1.2 million on cart paths.
That's incorrect. I went through how much.
Hang on, sir. I'm coming back.
Okay, if you go back to my presentation, and let me just pull up that sheet. Bear with me, a lot of paperwork.
What was the question?
Okay, what I said in my presentation.
He wants you to rephrase that question if you
Right.
could.
All right, what I said in our presentation is that, we're going to be doing $200,000 very shortly within the next couple of months. All right, we're going to do another 106,000 or more if we have to shift around maybe some of our reserves depending upon priorities. All right, but going forward, so if you have 200, that's 306. All right, and then I had the shoreline cart pass at 350. All right, so that's 356,000. That's 656,000 going into the cart paths.
And then 2029, 2030, another 200 each per year number.
Yeah, basically, that's a fill-in.
Okay.
That's basically just a fill-in. Again, my first budget.
One more question.
Hang on, sir. There's an audience, a live audience that needs to hear this.
As we close the year, how much cash are we going to have that's not dedicated either to a reserve or payments on Harbor Club?
I'm getting my steps in
You're
today.
giving me a real easy answer here. I will tell you this, because we didn't meet our revenue, all right, our cash flow is very, very low. All right, and we're expected that our cash flow is going to be about $80,000 short. I canceled it. All right, and move that more to the operating in order to in order to fulfill that cash flow.
Budgeted reserve, not an actual
Well,
reserve.
the budgeted reserve, yes. All right, now, okay, speaking to that point. All right, again, the reason why we don't have cash flow, okay, is because we lost $150,000 in revenue, okay, in the restaurant. We also lose $100,000 in the dues that we're not collecting. That's $250,000. All right. Normally, what would happen is that if you're short on cash flow, you get a line of credit. We're not doing that. All right. The other alternative is to hold bills over from one year into the next until you collect dues. I refuse to do that. I will not do something like that. If we don't have the money for it, all right, we don't do it. So that's why I moved the money out of reserve to cover the operating costs and the shortages in the cash flow because of the revenue we did not collect.
So the answer is nearly zero.
Excuse me?
The answer is nearly zero.
Yeah.
You guys are killing me with this going back and forth thing.
Zero in the operating.
I'm done.
All right, I know.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm setting this up so I don't have to hold things twice. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that. Next.
Beautiful. My name's John Doherty. I live on Royal Pines Drive. I had a question for Larry about the RFID. I just was wondering what happens in the event that the internet goes down, does every car then have to be waved in by the guard? In other words, communicate with the guard? What happens if there's a broken line, for example?
If the internet goes down, gates will be
Mike.
open.
Oops, sorry.
Okay.
All right.
We actually, man, we have 4 mics here, but one is for the live feed and one is for the audience. And in order to get everybody the same information, we have to run back and forth with this double setup.
Okay, let me address that. Okay, the answer to the question about the RFID, if the internet is down, we still have a gate guard that's always manning the gate, and he will be able to, that gate guard will be able to open the gate. If the internet is down and the gates are non-operational, we may have to open the gates, but we're not going to be in a situation where access to the community will not be available.
There could be a backup since there's a lot more traffic.
Then we would open the gate. I mean, it's going to be the interest of making sure we have clear access. We're not going to put in an unsafe situation because the internet's down. But if we can do it with the guard and vet it as normal, we will. If not, then the gates will go open. And as it is right now, anytime the guard is not in the shack, all gates go open. Okay? So if we do not have a guard demand, we are not going to have it so the gates close and somebody can't get into this community. The policy is that if the guard is not available, even to the point if the guard has to go to the restroom and there's one guard on, then the gate goes up and anybody can come in. Yeah, anybody. Now that's not desirable. We don't want it to be that, and we would rather have it. But we're operating with how much can we spend for manpower for that? And we're trying to get automated access as much as possible. So we're addressing those. We know there are all issues, and we're trying to find the best answers for all of it.
Right now, we have a lane closed.
Is that a question, ma'am?
Yeah, there is a question because we have
Here you go.
a line closed, a lane closed. The guard is not even asking your address.
Okay?
So we have no security.
Okay, let me address that. As of right now, we do not have a lane closed. The lane is now open. The motor has been replaced. We were waiting for the replacement motor to come in. And yes, the guard will allow people to come in if they know who it is. We have other mechanisms. There's a mirror, ma'am. They're not asking if they know who the person in the car is or if the car has a decal on it. If it's got a barcode, there's a mirror there. They can see it. If they see the barcode, they're going to let you in because you're a property owner. Why would they not? I mean, the gate would, if it were automated and it was working, it would be opening for you. So if they see that sticker on your window, they're going to let you in.
Next question.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Ben Watford. And I know I'm not supposed to be here because the life expectancy, I think, is what, 70?
It's only an average then.
I'm hitting on 93. But the question I would ask is this. Now, my nephew is coming here to play golf with me. He's coming on Thursday, tomorrow, I think it is. I booked times for Carolina Colors for Saturday. Now, you wonder why I don't play here at Fairfield Harbor. I moved here almost 40 years ago because of the golf courses. At Carolina Colors, they've set up that golf course so that if I get one good shot, 80 yards, I can reach that par fours in regulation. I'm telling you. They've set up so that when I was 88, when I was 89, I shot an 88 at Carolina Colors. Now, when I get to number 5 hole on Harbor Point, these guys want me to hit my shot from the latest red tees. Forget it. I'm not good at golf anymore. And let me tell you something. If you think you're making this golf course for the young people don't play golf. I didn't play golf until I was 50 because I had 6 kids, had them put them through college. But we old people have the money to play golf. Once you change that course and set up those tees so I can reach those par fours in regulation, I'll play here.
Thank you. Ben. Anybody else have another question? Go ahead.
Vito Spallone, I live on Cara Drive, moved here in 2021, I think it was, something like that. Anyway, a couple questions. Les, in the beginning of the meeting, you had mentioned that for the last several, what's that?
Stand up, sir.
Oh, stand up. For the last several years, you've been taking note of our expenses and trying to get a handle on it. I'd like a little bit more confirmation on when we're gonna do a deep dive and start cutting back on some of those expenses, because obviously we're having problems still. And one expense jumped out at me today when I was reviewing the budget, and it was a $13,000 a year charge that we're paying for a copier and fax machine lease. It averages $15,000 a year over the next 5 years. That's money we could use somewhere else. You could buy a brand new copier fax machine at Best Buy for $500 and replace it 3 times in a year.
Well, I've had those kinds of copiers, and that's about how many you'd have to replace every year is the problem we've seen. We do have commercial copiers there that are they're leased, are they not, Jennifer? Yeah. Have y'all checked to see, is that a competitive lease?
Yes, we actually lowered the price.
Okay, but I don't think that we are not looking at every line in that budget, because we are, and it's not over with for this year. The budget's going to be approved, but there are line items that are going to be argued with vendors, with Troon, with a lot of the folks that are there to see why we're getting this bill and how much that we're paying and how come. That is going to be looked at.
That's comfortable to know, and I appreciate you being honest about that, and hopefully we'll see an improvement on that by the next coming years. But there's a lot of other items in there that seem to be ridiculous, and I think a lot of the community is concerned about that.
Well, I don't hesitate for a community member to contact board members or Kevin. I've had an open door at my house, my telephone, email, anything you wanted the whole time I'm on the board. And I think Kevin has taken every call that's come to you to talk about it. So if you have ideas and suggestions or see something that you think can be done better and cheaper, by all means, call them. We want to hear it. We'd rather have that than have you fuss at us online, you know?
Yeah, I understand that part of the situation as well. And, a lot of that is overblown. I get it. And I understand what you guys are going through here. But another point I wanted to make. Another point I wanted to make is that we don't appear to be financially healthy, yet we're spending the money on the clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a prudent decision, knowing that financially this community is not healthy? Couldn't we have just delayed it for a later time, another year or two down the road, when we had more community input, instead of jumping into the thick of things and spending money that we really don't have right now? Hang on, let me finish.
Go ahead.
Okay, and the other concern that I have is I come from a construction industry. I've been involved in construction since I was 17 years old. When I hear about paying $200,000 a year to maintain or replace cart paths, have we looked into any other alternate materials besides asphalt that requires a constant upkeep? You go to a lot of top-end golf clubs all over the country, and you'll see decorative landscaped crushed stone that holds up years longer than asphalt without the maintenance and half the cost. Do we entertain those kinds of alternatives in our community?
I would say that's a question for the roads committee.
Okay, we should bring it up.
Yeah. Hey, we're game for anything you
Okay.
want to bring up to them, any suggestions. And if
And
you're
then-
in, let me make the best suggestion of all, is that you volunteer to be on that committee.
Oh, I'd love to.
I would like for you to do that.
People ask, my neighbors have asked me on a number of occasions to come and volunteer. I travel every week. So it would be difficult for me to make the meetings.
Well, just go to them and with your suggestions and tell
Yeah.
them, guys, because I can promise you, they're serious people trying to do it the best they can.
Right.
They don't do it for a living, as you know, but they did. Guys like, Ray Redness at Stormwater, Ed Thompson, all those guys, they work almost full time at this stuff all week long. If you have viable suggestions, I promise you, they'll hear them. I don't know anything about golf. I don't play. I've never played golf. I am appreciative of the fact that we live in a neighborhood that has a good golf course. I will tell you this, Ben was mentioning Carolina Colors a minute ago, because we hear that comparison a lot. A lot of people are not aware that Carolina Colors is in the New Bern city limits, and New Bern takes care of their roads, their police, their security. Half of the community was owned by one man, the developer over there, Kirk. And he is getting out of there as of the first of this year. They're going to see a dramatic rise in all of their costs because it's going to be all turned over to their POA at this time.
Well, we can make the best of what we have.
Oh, granted.
And we shouldn't be concerned about what others do. But we're not going to make the best of what we have unless we're smart about it. We are not smart about it right now. Maybe we're getting there or taking the steps to get there, but right now, we're not smart about it.
Well, come in and show us where the mistakes are. Talk to us.
Yeah, one more question
Go ahead.
regarding, that was 2 questions.
It's
Lot of
10
talking.
minutes.
All right, well, here.
Sorry,
Okay.
there's other people here. Who has this question?
Any other questions in there? We're growing questions here.
Thank you, Chris. This is not a budget question, it's more of a board question. I noticed that in a recent update on a Friday, that the new gate that's off of Caracara was locked, and it's going to stay locked. Has the board talked to the construction company to see what their perspective is?
That's your question. You got that? Tell them what the verdict is.
Okay, I have communicated with Bill Dressler, head of the Harbor Club, and we came to an agreement to have it locked because it was creating a lot of issues in the community with misuse, people that were using it that should not be using it throughout the day. And most of the time, it was being used by a few people in the morning coming to the Harbor Club and then a few people in the afternoon. During the middle of the day, it was being misused by all kinds of contractors and other people. So we did make a decision to do it. Now, however, the Harbor Club has finished with the pour, as far as I know. And if I'm saying anything that's wrong, I can be corrected, But they finished with the cement pour. So the cement trucks are not running. They're not running dump trucks in and out. However, we have dump trucks that are running all over the community to do other things. They were going through the gate and we could not get it under control. The other issue is that all the largest trucks were going through the main gate anyway, and they already had a way to get through there. So we felt like it was a better solution for the time being to lock that gate. Now, and we also allowed the Harbor Club, if they needed it, they have the key and they can open it on demand. So we were not restricting anybody from opening, it just didn't want to have it open all day long, every day, with it unmanned and wide open into the community, which created a huge hole. And there was just a lot of problems. So it was a conscious decision to do what we did.
There's a question here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're quite welcome.
You look familiar.
Looking familiar. I said I had 3 questions. One answer I did want to make is, yes, there were a lot of things looked at for the cart paths, both at over Shoreline and over at Harbor Point. And just go back and all the committees keep a record of what they've looked at, et cetera. And it's well worth it if you've got questions like that are detailed to go back and what's that good rule? If you're looking for a new idea, read an old book. Those old books are over there, and the committees have looked at a lot of those things. Not to say you won't have a better idea. Kevin, this is the 3rd question I said I was going to ask you. Let me go ahead and get it out of the way. From what I've looked at your budget, it looks like once again, each homeowner is paying in dues approximately $200 a year to keep the Harbor Point Golf Course open. I heard somebody earlier say, hey, we made a gross profit, and I was like, okay, but could you verify what is the profit and loss statement, bottom line, all in for Harbor Point Golf Course and Point?
Well, let me ask you this question. You're on the board for 3 years.
Yes,
What was that amount when you were on the board?
$200 approximately.
Yeah, and it's probably in around the same. It's probably in around the same.
Getting better. Just let me just make sure I understood. At least since I was on there, because I looked at it every year, it's about $200 per member per year to keep the golf course open. It's supposed to be a profit center. In other words, it's a business that we run and we charge money.
No, it's an amenity. It's not a business, it's an amenity.
It's a business. It's an amenity. So that becomes the discussion about amenity versus business. But there's no reason that it can't make money, or if there is, we should take a real close look at it from that standpoint.
Right.
If it can, it should. If it can't, we should understand why not and make sound decisions based on that.
Well, in answer to that, I would say this, all right? We purchased a failing business with a failing infrastructure. The golf course, when we purchased it, was basically bankrupt. We took on that liability. All right. So as we took that on as an amenity cost. It still remains an amenity cost. Now, when we talk about, well, running it as a business or is it an amenity? Well, it could be both. Number one, because we know it's an amenity, but in order to improve it, you have to run it as a business. All right. So that would be my answer to that. Are there any more questions?
Yes, I have one back here.
It's a simple question.
Oh, thank you.
Anytime. And we've had this discussion before. Whenever I had to work with budgets and a budget was finalized, approved, and it was locked in, the items stayed the same dollar for dollar. And it was my job to either bring it in at what was expected or to bring it in under. So I'm questioning why on your budget for the statements for 24-25, which is the year that's closing, items were changed that don't match up with what the budget was locked in at.
Well, first of all, what you're looking at and what was first presented was a draft budget. Actually, this budget is not locked in. We have until to keep this as a
I
draft
think you
budget.
misunderstood my question. So I'll try to clarify it if I can. What I'm looking at, and I realize this is a revised budget and it's a draft budget, okay? I'm talking about the budget from 24 that was locked in and had items that were identified by a financial amount in the columns. So I would be expected to bring my budget in to match those numbers or come under like Will has done, all right? But you have things where you've absolutely changed the numbers from the final 2024 budget. And I'm curious as to what's the rationale for that.
I'd have to look at that and research that.
I'll gladly show you. I mean, I have no problem talking about it with you.
All right.
My other question is, and this is one we had a conversation with before, is that you make a statement here that your calculations are based on 24 properties, which is what the community carries.
Correct.
But when I back my way into what you're going to expect as far as dues income, you're basing it on 2779. And in your out years, you're showing even less numbers because of the holdings that the POA unfortunately gets stuck with. The concern I have with that is that you're not calculating based on what you are expecting. So you have good efficiencies. You're lowering it to increase your efficiencies. And with that point, you're also playing around with your bad debt load as well. So I'm just curious as to why all prior boards, of which I've served on since 2010, always worked to the 28-24, and then you explain why you hit it or why you didn't hit your numbers.
All right. First of all, when you're looking at those out years at 2007-77, and I actually want to give credit to Craig.
27, you mean 2000?
Well,
2027?
When you look at on that document, it has 28-24, 28-24. All right, and then it says 2007-77. All right. That's actually a mistake that I wasn't able to correct. I actually want to give credit to Craig Myler, although we had a 3-hour spirited conversation, very spirited. I don't understand how he's so calm. Okay, all right, because my octaves got higher and higher and higher when we were talking about that. He did bring up, about the dues calculation. All right, again, my first budget, I don't know how many properties are actually out here, and what he did is educate me on that. All right, when you look at the roads going across, I did not get to change. What the calculation is based on is for your dues is 2,762. Is that correct, Craig? Because that's what you and I discussed, and that's what you educated me on.
Using the POA properties as of the GIS yesterday.
Yes. Yeah, and I use your numbers.
But you still have an expectation, whether you can sell them or not, that you've got 28, 24 lots that you're expecting dues income from.
No.
And you hope that you sell them
No.
to get the dues income.
No, because that's what the calculations, and this is what I got from Craig. He says, you got to look at this, that we have 28, 24 properties. Doesn't mean, and then if you take a look, there's 62 properties above that. All right, so if you take the 28, 24 minus the 62 that are POA owned lots, that's 2,762, which gives you to the dues that we're collecting at $13.95 for 2,762 properties.
But again, I'm saying you're just lowering your expectancies.
I can't expect something that's not realized.
It's, you have to sell them. As everybody has tried, and it's a rotating door of selling those lots. And we all know how they get sold and how they come back. But there's money made on some of those lots, not a lot, and you collect the dues when those lots are in somebody else's hand.
Well, I have to do the budget based upon the dues that we actually collect. Oh, yeah, one of the things is when you take a look, all right, is that the offset, all right, for those 62 lots or bad debt, all right, is calculated down in the bad debt line item, which is roughly, I believe, 3%. All right, so you collect your dues. All right, we know that we're going to have bad debt, and if you notice, if you read the bad debt line item, I put $100,000 in there because we're not collecting from the timeshares. What happens is this. I can't, that's a legal issue that I really can't explain.
Here's another question
So-
right here.
Sure.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. I've been here 25 years, all right? And this is the first time we've had a lot of.
Can't hear you, Mike. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, all right. I've been here 25 years. This is the first time we've had what you called animosity towards the board. First time, 25 years, okay? So anyway, maybe it's not all our fault. But I want to know what the problem is. In 2024, well, we had a proposed bad debt of $24,339. And this year, at the end of the year, we have $288,668. That's a big jump in 1 year for bad debt. Now, if we're paying 98%, Jennifer said, dues, where's all this bad debt coming from? And
First of all, that
dues.
bad debt reflects the dues that has not been collected, okay, as of what, August or so forth? All right, or dues that has not been collected, okay, as of the end of October. All right, as you go through every month, all right, November, December, January, and February, all right, before the new year comes in, people come up and usually pay off their dues for the previous year.
But
So
the
that
column
number
says actual. So the actual means today.
Yeah.
Up to today.
Yeah, because
No,
that.
that's 288,000.
And that's the right number because we are on an accrual basis. All right, and that's how it's and in the accounting world, that's how that's reflected.
With almost all the dues paid, we still have a bad.
No,
debt.
we don't have all the dues paid.
Well, Jennifer said we have close to 98% paid as of today, okay?
As
And
of
you
today,
said-
as of today,
And
you're-
you said the actual dues, which is not today, but maybe when you did the budget, which is maybe last week,
Those numbers,
288,000?
those numbers change. You are looking at numbers, period ending October 31st, 2024. What Jennifer is referring to and the collection rate is through today's date. So in November and December, okay, and through January, we collected the dues. Now, I don't know what that is because I was so engrossed in preparing this budget, okay, that I haven't got to look at the numbers for December to see exactly where those numbers lie.
Well, this is the last column. This is actual. So that's what I'm confused. All right.
That's the actual as of 10/31.
I'll answer the one about the POA for you.
There's one more thing I want.
Okay, I'll give it right back to you. You were asking about the timeshares. This gentleman right here. Mhm.
Let me.
Oh, I didn't see you were still standing. Go ahead.
This is Rich Miller. I live on Santo Domingo. I've been here about 16 years. The accounting on bad debt, there's three pieces to the accounting on the bad debt expense, but it only happens twice a year. After 6 months, they post a large number of the bad debt, and there's three pieces. It's 80% of the outstanding accounts receivable over 90 days for the POA. That's number one. Same thing for golf and the restaurant. That's number two. And then there's a third piece that has to do with the number of POA lots. And you can check with Nick on that piece. Usually what happens is after the first 6 months, you're going to get a big number like 100,000, 150,000 or whatever. But then what happens then the last part of the year with the second one gets posted in February for bad debt, legal gets involved and they start collecting on the people that aren't paying. And that takes that number way down. If you look at the actuals for FY23, the bad debt at the end of the year was less than $5,000.
Okay, thank you. Rich was our accountant here right up until Kevin, and they do work together on it. You had a question, sir. This gentleman right here. You had asked about how the timeshare doesn't have money. One of them is going into foreclosure. We were asked to foreclose on them because timeshare revenue for them, and I can't tell you which one it is down. I mean, they're getting, what's happening to timeshares around the world, and people are not coming, and so they're losing money. They have a business plan to get out of it by consolidating. They have a lot of buildings. If they could say, this group of buildings here, we're going to empty them, we're going to take those owners and move them over to here, and we're going to sell those buildings. But we can't ask our shareholders to do that until you foreclose on us. That's us. So they owe us over 100,000. They will over again in March, another 100,000. It's not all gloom and doom. We are a lien holder. Nothing can be done with them if we don't get paid. Kevin is very, very conservative when he plans for the budget. He does not count on what he calls unanticipated income. For example, there are POA lots right now that have offers being made through the realtor in Raleigh that handles them for the POA. He knows that money will be coming to help pay bills with soon when those things close, but he won't put it in that budget until he has it in his hand, because you don't want to bet on things that have not occurred. But that generates cash flow for us here that will help get us through the year. We do not want to borrow any money to pay off any problems and do any projects that we didn't have any money for. Simple as that. We did not want to have to come back for any more dues for people. They scream as it is. My thought that I would like for everybody to understand is that you're not in the city of New Bern. We do everything here ourselves. The security gates, we keep the roads up, we keep the culverts up, they keep the storm drains and all. Well, guess what? They're 47 years old. So if you think you can go another 10 years and watch them all crumble around you, you're kidding yourself. You at some point have to address these things. Well, they had, last year was the last year of the $300 increase for the clubhouse. The clubhouse is 100% secure. None of us were even on the board that asked for that $300, $100 a year for 3 years. That was specifically to pay for that clubhouse. That money, in my opinion, I won't be on the board but until June. I have iterated my thoughts to all of them. The $300 a year be totally locked in for nothing but that clubhouse and its upkeep, because it generates about 150 grand more in that $300 than the payment is on the clubhouse, so that it will be paid for in perpetuity. And I think, my own thoughts, that clubhouse will add value to everybody's home in this community, not to mention your lifestyle. Second, well, let me ask one more thing, Chris, is that if you had lived in the city, your taxes, what you're paying to live in that house, would be more than what you're paying right now. You're paying $116 a month to live here. If you live in New Bern, you're not going to have gates going to your community with whatever security we do have, okay? You won't have an inner harbor like that. They're not going to give you swimming pools and tennis courts and pickleball courts. You're going to have to pay for that in addition. We are trying to do those things and keep them up as best we can for this community. Now, if you want it to look like Carolina colors and Taberna, that's a very easy thing to do. Let's pump the dues on up there to $2,000 a year. You can have whatever you want. But if you want to keep them bottom end, our attorney tells us she represents 2,800 POAs in this state, okay? She says size-wise, we're at the very top of the size of the communities she represents. She also says dues-wise, we're at the very bottom is what we pay here. We get more for our money than any community around here gets and offer you more for it. And it ain't we. You're doing it yourself. These people here are just trying to fill positions to help get it all done. But you own this stuff, and you can replace this board, 2 of them at minimum, isn't that correct, every year. I'll be gone in June. Another board member comes off in June. The craziest thing to me that I've seen since I've lived here is suing the community to remove 2 board members that were up for re-election 30, 40 days later and pay, and the community, us, have to pay $28,000 or $30,000 to a lawyer to handle that, when if they'd have just waited a month, they can vote them off. It doesn't make any sense. They're talking about doing the same thing right now. A lot of this stuff does not make sense if you play it through. If we have to go to court again with stoppers, it's going to cost us tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees to fight it. And we're going to ask for that to be repaid by them if they lose the suit. And if they do, they can, whatever they're paying the lawyer, you can add about $2 grand to it per head to pay off what's costing them.
Doing these movements to require 67%.
67% supermajority makes,
Ladies and
it
gentlemen,
makes
let's
sense.
stay on target with the budget. We have 4 more questions.
Okay,
And
go
then
ahead
we're
and
gonna close
answer
with-
them. I'd be glad to answer
with
your
our
question.
online viewers.
anytime.
Hang on just a second.
I had a couple questions I was going to ask. My name is Mona Jankowski. I live over on Harbor Point Drive. I've got a lot of questions, but the main statement that I'd just like to make is that we're talking about this needs fixed and that needs fixed in infrastructure. And I have gone to stormwater meetings and I have spoken in depth with Ray Redness. And Ray did a presentation last weekend, and he made it very clear to everyone there that it's not just our stormwater culverts. I mean, that's a small piece of the pie. In terms of our infrastructure here, we have serious issues regarding our culverts. And he said, right now we're talking at a price of $4 to $5 million, and it goes up every year that it's not addressed. And I, to this day, do not feel that anyone is taking this concern seriously. Maybe because all of you live someplace where you're high and dry, but there's a lot of people in this community who don't. And with all the development that continues to go on, it does impact all of that when we get a rain or a storm. God help, we get another hurricane. And it needs to be taken seriously. Ray needs to be taken seriously. And you're right, Les, he is a very brilliant person and he has contributed greatly here, but we are not listening to him. Thank you.
Tell them how to cure the problem. How to get the $4 million to do it. They say.
Well, again, this goes back to having a fiscal strategy. All right. If you don't raise dues, you can't get those things done. As an example, if you go back to my example, I said you raise the dues $70 each year for 8 years, and you would still wind up at $13.95 dues. All right. We would have collected $800,000. That $800,000, if you had a fiscal policy and plan in place, would have been able to provide additional funding to handle these infrastructure problems.
Next question.
So with the money we're spending on the Harbor Club.
All right, you know what? I want to bring up the Harbor Club. I'm going to
two-
bring up the Harbor Club. All right?
Kevin, let's get through our questions.
All right, get through your questions, and then I'll end with the final.
I have a question with two questions. How many people on the board were here during Hurricane Florence? Raise a hand. Okay, there you are. 2 people. How many people in the room lived through Hurricane Florence here? Wow, I'm happy for me with the hands going up. In your discussion about raising the dues or making the dues the same dollar amount over the last 7 or 8 years, you would have accumulated this amount of money. The board during that time, and they get credit for this. When the people were living here, their houses were damaged. They didn't ask for more money to keep this community going. They sat tight and the dues stayed tight. So I have a little issue with you going back and using those years that the board felt that people needed the money to replace their home or replace things that they lost from Florence, then raising the dues and waited until 2021. That's my answer, and that's my answer to you using those numbers from 2016 and 2017.
All right, well, Florence happened in 2018, all right? You didn't raise the dues in 2017. I mean, actually, you did, all right? But you had no dues increase, okay, in 2018 when the budget was passed, okay, in February, because Florence didn't happen until September, all right? Now, they did raise the dues $75, all right, because they came into a crunch. But now you went into 2020 and 2021 without dues increases. All right. All I'm saying is this. I'm not discounting the efforts of the board. I'm sure they did the best they can. What I'm stressing is from a financial perspective and fiscal policy, okay, what those decisions, okay, monetarily do, okay, to the community that destabilizes, okay, the financial position. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going back and trashing the board. I'm sure they did the best they can. They took on a big nut when they purchased the amenities. I get it, and it was the right thing to do. All I'm telling you is that from a financial perspective and from a business operations perspective, okay, that if it was done like that, all right, the repercussions, your dues would be lower, okay, going forward instead of increasing. That's all I'm saying.
Second to last question.
Hey, Rich, actually, Kevin, Phil Hewitt. I've been here about 10 years. So my question is when I was looking at revenues that were coming in, you might want to look at that again. I think there's a mistake there, okay? Because you talked about the $100,000 loss, but you actually only say we're going to lose 20. So you need to figure out where that 80,000 is. So just go back there and look at that. That's
okay.
what I found.
All right.
But I do want to thank you for actually coming up with a program for the infrastructure and being able to have a forecast in the future. One of the things that we really didn't address was the $400,000 loss. Obviously, we know reserves are going to cover those losses to pay for those operating costs. What happens in the next year or the following year if we have another bad year? Where would that money come from?
Well, again, my I laid out what my fiscal policy would be. All right. And it's a very sound fiscal policy. All right. I make recommendations. The board makes the decisions. I don't get a vote. All right. So I do the best I can to provide them with the best information available. All right. And they're the decision makers in doing that.
Okay, before we go to Emily Bartley, thank you very much for helping us with the live stream and your comments with those. I know that there's some ancillary questions that are coming out of all of this. It is getting late and there's a lot to digest. I think I speak on behalf of the board and say, we encourage you to reach out to us in writing to thoughtfully lay out your questions so we can address it at our next meeting. Fair?
All right. Can I just make like one closing statement? Again, I want to thank Craig Myler, all right, for his help. All right. I also want to thank Rich Miller, who spent years as the treasurer for the POA. And the other person I want to thank is Phil Hewitt for bringing in Hosted America and providing this community with an opportunity, okay, to bring in a revenue stream that could be high dollars if the community gets on board and looks into getting Hosted America. All right. Without Hosted America, all right, we don't have a clear-cut revenue stream to help keep your dues lower. All right. If the community does not support our restaurant, all right, it's not going to keep the dues lower. All right. That's just numbers and facts. All right. So it's really up to the community to what you decide to do. The board can't decide. The board can make decisions. Okay, but it's up to the community, okay, to take their actions in support of the community. And that's really the last thing I have to say. And I want to thank everyone in the audience for being very cordial. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, hold 1 second, Ann. I'll bring it to you. I do want to say, though, this is Emily. Thank you. We've had over 130 people on YouTube tonight, and we've got a bunch of questions, and I will make sure that the board gets those after this. Thank you. There you go.
Hi, my name is Ann Simpson. I live on Barbary Coast. I've been here for about 15 years. I was on the board during the years that you so aptly described as the board could have done a better job. I have a personal problem with that. I also have a problem with the communication between the past for this board. We've been talking now for however long it's been.
2 hours.
2 hours. No one on the board has mentioned any financial information about the Harbor Club. I'd like to know, is it all paid for? Are we going to have to buy things for the inside of this building? Are there anything that you people can tell us about what's going to happen to make this wonderful money-making place that you've described? It's going to have all those things, and I'm happy. And I hope you are here for another 10 years to see it. But we haven't gotten any information, even tonight.
I can answer that. All right, let me explain. All right. In 2021, the board decided to, in a business plan, decided to say, we're going to raise the dues $100 each year for the next 3 years. All right. In doing that, that generates roughly about $840,000. All right. Now, because we don't have the Harbor Club built, we were fortunate enough to use that money and to date use $2 million that we collected to do the infrastructure where there was no money there before. All right. So we're going to be able to collect. And once we open a Harbor Club, all right, we'll go into principal and interest payments, which is $716,000 a year. All right. We're collecting $840,000. All right. That difference is supposed to be there to help fund the operational expenses, okay, of that Harbor Club for future years. As far as outfitting the community center itself, all right, I believe the cost was, we borrowed $6.5 million. All right, the contract is between 6.1, 6.2. We're going to have about $284,000 to put into the inside of that building for furniture, fixtures, and equipment. All right, so there's no extra money that we're going to have to collect in order to do that because we've already collected that. And I'm sorry that if you take it personally.
I did.
Okay, all right, it's not.
My whole board did.
All right.
Because a lot of them are.
Right, all right. All I'm explaining, I'm looking at a finance, all right? I'm a financial professional, all right? My job is to investigate these things and look at them and see how you develop a business plan so that you can have consistency in knowing that, hey, my dues isn't going to go up $200 next year. Maybe we reduce that to maybe, $50 or whatever, that covers the cost of inflation, all right? In all our discussion, we never discussed inflation.
You did.
All right?
You most certainly did.
No, we didn't. Well, there's no dues that went towards inflation. That's what I'm
You
saying.
didn't discuss.
Yeah, the only inflationary increase was 2019, basically, and that was the $75.
And Ann, none of us have ever said it was going to be a profit maker. That's a
Right.
wrong assumption.
Right.
The Harbor Club, it's not designed to make money. You won't be charged to use it. It is this room is what it is. And the number that has shocked me the most in the whole situation about needing a bigger building, I didn't believe it when I was told this. I've said it several times. The room that you're in last year, this room, how many times was it used, Jennifer? Around 1,500 times. This room right here. Well, that's why we have a club. And there are people that say, well, nobody wanted a club. Yes, there were a lot of people that wanted a club. And years from now, I'd like to even end on this. Ted,
I just have one, before you want to
make
end
it quick. We got to let them go.
Right, all right. I did thank Craig, thank you. All right, I also want to thank Rich Miller, all right, because Rich Miller was a treasurer for many years here. He did a great job. As I said, this was my first budget. All right, I'm very, very good at doing budgets, but this budget had some items and things in it that I was not familiar. So I want to give my thanks to Rich Miller, but I also want to give my thanks to Phil Hewitt. If it wasn't for Phil Hewitt, we would not have Host in America, and we would not have a possible revenue stream coming in, okay, to help, okay, with our revenue, all right, to help stabilize our dues. Thank you, Phil.
Okay, thank you all for coming. And the one thought that comes to my mind after this meeting tonight is that maybe in the coming years, this group that is hyper interested in the budget, and it is your money, why don't they have a draft budget workup day when these numbers are all coming in and all of y'all get involved in the budget process and not wait until you get down here and have these questions that are, would take a lot more time to answer than what everybody has here. We'll just have a day here in this room. Y'all come in and give them your opinions on it right then, because like Kevin says, he's just putting numbers down on paper. He didn't create the numbers. He didn't authorize the spending. This is figures handed to him by basically Troon, who is our management company. It says, this is what was spent. Put it in these categories. He has tried to break it out into his understandable GL lines and GL codes that he possibly could for every item that was spent. And like I said, we have questions on them too. But I thank you for your time and effort. Okay, we're wrapping up. Y'all drive carefully out there. It's a long way home.
Bob has something.
Go ahead, Bob.
Second.
Second to adjourn. Everybody in agreement, right hand, there we go. Good night.